Cowabunga, dude! You're listening to the Nerdthusiast Podcast. I'm your co-host, Richard Eiley, here with my co-host, Matthew Morosi.
Smokey, my friend, you are entering a world of pain.
This week, I return to Sengoku, Japan, while Matt cuts his teeth on the COG War Machine and rants about Nintendo. TGS has come and gone, but we cannot get over all that juicy gameplay goodness revealed for Death Stranding and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Then, Modern Warfare hiding loot boxes? Gears 5 is a huge hit? Rockstar is releasing a games launcher for PC? And Bandai Namco is prepping more remasters? We'll dive into it during our headlines coverage. And finally, we turn back the clock with Rediscovering Retro as we reflect on our recent outing into Arabian Nights via Aladdin for the Sega Genesis. Matt, how's it going, man?
Life's alright.
Life's alright. Why is life alright? Just
It's alright, man.
All right.
I got a beer.
Beer's gonna help. You had a
It
beer
does.
last podcast.
It's a recurring theme.
I'm noticing a trend here, dude. Well, welcome, everybody. We got some good stuff today, but before we can do anything, we have to play our very important game, So You Think You're Gen X. Matt, do you remember this game?
I'm very excited right now.
I think I'm excited too. I think I got better track. Basically, a quick rundown. So You Think You're Gen X is a game where I read off lyrics to a song that Matt doesn't know about, or he's not aware of what song it is, and he tries to guess what song it is. And the idea is it's older songs. Matt thinks he's a Gen X individual, even though he's a millennial, and he's going to try and guess and prove me wrong that he is Gen X. Sound about right?
Oh, it's right, and I'm very disappointed. I got the band correct, but I got the song incorrect
that
last time.
easy-
It was.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Yeah,
It's alright.
you messed it up. I picked like the most obvious Rage Against the Machine song.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. That's in the past.
It's okay.
Today's today. Are you ready?
Clean slate. Let's do it.
All right. When she's saying she wants only me, then I wonder why she sleeps with my friends.
The Offspring.
She's saying, what the fuck? I thought, was it too much? Was it too obvious? The inflection? Am I not inflecting enough?
I just really like Offspring.
All right. Okay. What song is that?
Oh man, I'm really bad with songs. I'm realizing this, that I know songs. I know who sings them. I just don't know the name of the song.
Okay.
Give me a second here.
I mean, I can read more. I was going to give you at least this whole paragraph.
Go ahead. Give me the
okay.
paragraph. I'll pull it out of my
All
butt
right.
at some point.
When she's saying that I'm like a disease, then I wonder how much more I can spend. Well, I guess I should stick up for myself. But I really think it's better this way. The more you suffer, the more it shows you really care, right? Yeah. Yeah. The next verse has the lyric in there, so I'm not going to give that to you. It's not fair to anybody. Matt is contemplating. I see a look of panic washing over his face. He has no idea what the name
I
is.
see Offspring like almost once a year, and
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of any of the songs.
This is obscene. Can you give me a guess? You got a half point last week, so I think you're going to get a half point this week, but give me a guess.
Anybody who's listening to this is probably like,
It's
what
like,
an
you
idiot.
fucking
This is so much
asshole.
harder to do, like when you're like on the spot and like
in
I
the
know
hot
I'm
seat.
recording this right now.
Yeah, it's a literal hot seat. The AC's off. So. I'm going to have to give you a timer. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
I can't think
Four.
of any.
You
I'm like
son of
completely
a-
blanking.
You don't
Bad
know one-
habit.
Okay,
It's probably not that.
It was self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Jesus Christ! I
Self-esteem.
knew I was getting there.
You were going to get there. If I gave you like the next verse, for sure.
Why
you
did I
would've
not?
got it.
How did I not know that?
I'm just a sucker with no self-esteem. Come on.
I'm just like panicked.
It's all right.
I did the same thing last week. I panicked and just blurted out the first
Buffalo
thing that came to my
Parade
head.
or whatever it was.
Bulls on parade. Mother of God.
All right. Anyway.
How do I not know that?
Anyway, we're going to talk about what we've been playing, Matt. That's the next segment in this podcast.
Well, now I'm
that
embarrassed,
is
so we can talk
expertly
about whatever,
produced.
I guess.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with mine. I've been playing Sekiro. Got back into it. Shadows Die Twice. FromSoft game. I think everybody knows about this game. They're pretty familiar with it. It's been out since March. I took a big break from it just because other games had come out. I was playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, but I'm back on Sekiro. And where once I was like a really big fan of like what was going on and like my time with this game, I think I'm chilling out on Sekiro in a big way. And I think it has to do with maybe the level of difficulty. I think I might be just done with like FromSoft's crazy difficult BS, and I don't know if I have the patience like I used to have for these games, because I don't think it's a harder game necessarily, but I'm finding myself really irritated.
Well, wasn't like the way you fight bosses very different in Sekiro compared to like the Souls game?
Yeah, there's a posture meter, which I love. I love this, by the way. This is a huge change for Souls, and I think it's a really good one. Basically, each enemy has a posture meter that you have to build up, and once you build that up to max, it breaks their posture, and you can get like a killing blow or a blow that takes like a major amount of their health off.
So they have like upgrades to your spinal cord? Is that how you upgrade your posture?
No, nothing like that. That's a very funny joke, but it's inaccurate. No, you can do more posture damage with certain moves that you get, and that does that. But I don't know. I just got, if people are listening and are familiar with Sekiro, I just finished the Guardian Ape, who is well known as like a ridiculously hard boss, and super big pain in that butt. It took me like 3 hours to take him down. I was up until like 1 a.m. pulling my hair out.
I give you credit for playing that shit though, because I don't have patience for
But
that.
Here's the thing.
I don't like self-abuse.
Here's what pushed me over the edge. Last night I'm playing again. I pushed spoilers, minor spoilers for Sekiro. If you haven't played it by now, I'm sorry, I apologize. But I get further into the game and that freaking boss shows up again. But then he summons like another version of him, and you're basically fighting him with a friend that is also him. The health pools are smaller, so it's technically easier versions, but it was like too cute for me to enjoy, if that makes sense. So, I don't know. Sekiro. I'm going to try and finish it, but yeah, it's been a pain. What about you, Matt? You been playing anything?
Started playing Gears 5.
That's right. I saw a little bit.
Very sexy game.
Very pretty game.
Probably the best looking. I would say it's probably the best looking game on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else is. It's super gorgeous. Yeah, it's got like a graphical fidelity there. That's pretty great. I don't know if it's the best game I've seen this gen. I don't know. Did you play Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Xbox
I have.
One? You think it's better than that game in terms of how it looks?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Just the lighting and stuff that they do, like, I think it's designed just for the Xbox, where Red Dead was designed across multiple platforms and stuff. I think that Gears is probably the best looking game on the Xbox.
Man, I want to see more of it. I only saw like one specific part that you were playing that was like in a enclosed area, so I didn't get to see that much like variety, unfortunately.
The other problem is, with Gears, it's not a problem. But in Gears, they have like contrasting colors where the brights can be bright and the darks are darker. In Red Dead, I feel like all the colors are very muted to appeal more to that time frame. So it's
okay. Even
even if it looks pretty, it's not. I think those muted colors are there on purpose, which makes sense. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to look the same as Gears.
Yeah, Gears because it's a sci-fi game, it gets to be a little bit more gets to have a little bit more fun with like the color schemes and artistic direction stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you feel like playing it that it's way better or different than Gears 4?
It feels like more Gears.
Yeah. Are you okay with that?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
I love the way Gears feels. They had a couple new things, like you have control over Jack, which is like a robot drone that follows you around, basically.
Was that not a thing in past games?
It was, but I don't think you controlled him. I think it controlled itself.
Okay, you
might have given it some really basic commands.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
Okay.
But in this one, you have all sorts of commands you can give it. It can go get you ammo. It can go get you, weapons. It can go get you all sorts of things.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like a new feature that you need to learn.
Interesting. Anything else on Gears 5?
What
out for you?
So everybody knows I haven't played multiplayer. I have not touched that yet. I'm looking forward to it, but who the hell knows if I'm gonna have time? We'll see.
Do you like to wait until you're like done with the campaign before you jump into multiplayer?
Usually, yeah. I'm on chapter 2 of Act 2, so I'm not that far into the game yet. I'm just
for sure.
Maybe I think it's like a fifth of the way in.
What do you think? Like 4 hours, if that?
Maybe less.
Okay.
I move really slow through games too, so who the hell knows where I could be if I wasn't taking my time.
You messed with something else since last podcast.
No Man's Sky Beyond.
Ooh, Beyond the Grave. No Man's Sky is reaching out at us, trying to make us play it some more.
So I was interested in this game when it first came out. Heard it was not leading up to expectations, so I didn't buy it. I waited, and then it came out on Xbox One, and I was like, oh, well, it looks a lot better. It looks cooler. They changed a whole lot of stuff with No Man's Sky Next, which was about a year ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll wait till it's like $20. And then I waited and waited. And then I found out they were putting PSVR in it. So it's like, well, now I'm going to get it for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because I have PSVR. So that's how I played it. I played it in PSVR. They just updated it with a patch today, which I don't think I had the patch on last night.
Okay.
And it was very blurry. The menus were hard to read in VR. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting game. You know, you're basically collecting things to upgrade your ship so you can start traveling.
Yeah.
It's like very kind of like grindy, like,
it's a loop for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that game a considerable amount, and I think even since more and more updates have come, it has actually become more and more of a grind because they've had more materials to grind for and more things that you have to get to upgrade your like ship or weapons or whatever, and it's kind of a drag. But how was that VR experience aside from the bad resolution? Like, it
was a little janky. It was okay. I mean, it's kind of what I expect.
Be in like,
I really wanted to travel. I'll say I didn't get to the point where I travel. I stayed on one planet the entire time. Okay. Like I'm only like maybe 45 minutes into the game.
Do you at least get your ship like running? And
no.
Oh gosh. Okay, so that's annoying.
Yeah, I haven't gotten far into it enough, so I can't talk about it too much. Okay. But the menus were difficult to read. Things were kind of cumbersome. I'll probably play it some more, but it hasn't really like sunk its teeth into me.
Hasn't made its like case yet to continue playing it.
Right, and now that Gears is here, like it's going to be tough for me to go back. But maybe I'll find time in the future. But it's nothing I'm going to look forward to right now. The other cool thing I got recently was I got a package from Special Reserve Games. I had pre-ordered The Messenger, which was a limited edition physical release through Special Reserve Games, and I just wanted to give them a shout out because the packaging and everything they put the game on was, above and beyond anything I would have expected. It wasn't a collector's edition, it was a standard edition of the game. I may throw up a video on YouTube or something to show you what it looks like, but I think I paid $35 for it, so shout out to them for making highly quality physical products for something that was digital only.
Super cool, and just looks like a proper Switch cartridge case and everything. You get the case, you get like this cool instruction manual.
It comes in a box that's like an NES box.
Exactly, comes with a box, and then within that you have like a specific instruction manual that's really thick and has a bunch of pages and artwork and stuff. So they definitely go above and beyond and giving you like this physical sense of memorabilia for a game that's digital only. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so shout out to them. I bought some limited run games before in the past. I got this through limited run, but Special Reserve was the one who made it, and it got delayed a bunch of times. But if they're going to put out quality products like that, I'm going to go back to their website and keep ordering stuff from them, and I don't care how long it takes for them to ship it to me. Yeah, no, it's worth it. If you're collecting stuff like that, I think it's definitely worth it. Matt, we have to move on to our next segment. There's a segment close to your heart, right? This is a reoccurring segment that we might hear from, throughout the year and going forward. What's this segment called, Matt? It's called Matt Rants. Yes. And the rant today is about Nintendo because I could rant about them for quite a long time. In fact, we probably are going to do a special episode where we just dissect Nintendo's idiocracy. We need to go into it. I wouldn't say idiocracy. I would just say they do their own thing. They do their own thing, and it's the things that they do on their own sometimes work out and sometimes are incredibly dumb. And this is one of those moments that are incredibly dumb. Matt, please rant to me. So, Thursday night on October 19th, yes, at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, all retailers are allowed to sell The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. Yeah. They have a street date. They control the street date. That's the date and the time for that game. Mm-hmm. As of, I think it was yesterday, they changed the time for the amiibo, which is the Zelda amiibo that goes along with the game. Yeah. Till midnight on Thursday, or Friday, Thursday night, Friday morning, depending on how you want to look at midnight. Okay. What the fuck, Nintendo? What? Why? What are you doing? 9 o'clock. You're putting the game out at 9 o'clock. The fucking amiibo goes along with the game. What is wrong with you? Why the 3-hour separation? So what does this mean, like, if I'm trying to get it at 9 o'clock? It means you can go get your game at 9 o'clock at a retailer in the Pacific, Pacific Coast or Pacific Standard Time. Okay. And then you got to go back at midnight if the store's still open, which most stores probably aren't going to stay open to release a goddamn amiibo. Yeah. And then, you could just go back to the store the next day and pick up your amiibo. So you get the game one day, you get the amiibo the next day. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Granted, they are releasing the Switch Lite at midnight also, which Why can't you just make everything at 9 o'clock? Why are you doing this? Why are you fucking your customers? At the end of the day, that's what you're doing.
I don't think it's an intentional thing. I think I discussed this with you before the podcast. I think it's unintentional. They were just looking at SKUs. They wanted to release their games early, and then the Amiibo, it was an oversight.
For a company who has as much money as Nintendo has, they have to have somebody there who realizes this is a fucking problem.
You would think. But it doesn't seem to be the case. Moving on to headlines, Matt. TGS just happened. It happened a while ago.
Tokyo Game Show,
yes, of course. 2019 just happened. A lot of stuff they showed. The biggest things for me, personally, huge gameplay demonstrations for both Death Stranding as well as Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I had you sit down and forced you basically to watch the Death Stranding trailer.
You didn't force me, but I don't really want to see any more of the game. I'm gonna play the game. Day one, I'm gonna play it.
Is this gonna be your first like Hideo Kojima directed game that you play?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I've tried his games before, and I've always had problems with the controls. Specifically, I tried Metal Gear Solid on PS1. Couldn't deal with the controls. I tried 2 Substance, couldn't deal with the controls, and I don't think I ever went back to play any of his games after that.
Those earlier ones had some issues for sure. Even I'll admit that as a big fan, like controls wise. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is phenomenal. It's definitely worth playing. But what they showed in Death Stranding, super different. Things I noticed personally as a fan, a lot of similarities to Metal Gear Solid 5 in terms of like how you can infiltrate places, headquarters and stuff, and like there's different ways to approach set infiltrations. A lot of the menu stuff looked like right out of Metal Gear Solid 5 as well. Just the way you're upgrading your boots, your different items that you're going to be collecting. A lot of that straight from Metal Gear Solid 5. But I think the most interesting thing for me, and I think like you probably found it pretty interesting too, it seemed like, was this online element that they're focusing on.
Yeah, I think that's probably the coolest thing about the game is that it's kind of like a connected world like you would see in Destiny or, something like that, but it's not the same at all. Like, it's not really meant for you to see it or deal with other people.
Yeah.
But the way you interact with them is by, like, leaving and sharing things throughout the environment so you can create these connections, essentially, to help you along the journey, and you're helping other people as well. And I think that's the entire point of the game.
Yeah, this is something that actually Kojima has been stating in interviews for a while now, that, like, this isn't just going to be a shooting game. Like, it's going to have these elements of interaction with other people, and he wants to make it like a more communal game. So like the basic rub of the game is you're going on these point A to B trips. What are you smirking about right now?
I'm a child.
Did I say something silly?
Yeah, basic rub.
Oh, whatever. The basic rub.
Basic rub,
I'm a fan of a basic rub. I don't need anything complex, Matt. Just a basic rub will get me where I need to go.
And that's why on South Park, good old fashioned. Get that old fashioned in there.
That's all I'm looking for. Anyway, and that's why I'm so excited for Death Stranding. But the thing that I liked about it was just, what the hell was I saying?
Basic rub.
But you son of a bitch.
I totally threw this off the rails.
You really fucked this up for me. It's fine. It's totally fine, because what I was saying about Death Stranding and its gameplay was, it looks like it's trying to... We might have to take this over from the beginning. You
just power through it.
You destroyed me with basic rub.
The kids will love it.
The kids will love it. No, it looks... I lost it, but it's fine. It looks cool. I'm excited for it. I think it looks really different from what Kojima's been doing. The Strand gameplay. So yeah, you're moving from point A to point B in this game. I found it. You're moving from point A to point B, and along the way, traveling across the country is the
United States is where it's taking place.
Exactly, and there's big expanses of landscape and really interesting looking geography that you have to like overcome and pass through. And there's ravines with rivers that are too deep that you have to pass over, and you're using different tools to overcome said obstacles. You're using ladders that you place down to work as bridges. You use ropes that you set down to rappel down, the cliff faces. And apparently all the things that you're setting down are also being uploaded to like the server of the game, I guess, and other users are able to see it. And if they use and like that item that you drop, they can like it and it'll stay in that world. I think it has like a level of permanence. So I don't know, like that's a very interesting concept, and I didn't really buy it when he was saying like you're going to be able to commune with other people. It's going to be a communal game, but I'm kind of seeing how it's working, and it's interesting.
I like that you don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Yet you're communicating with them.
Exactly. It's multiplayer.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with people coming in griefing you or whatever it is. It's very cool. I'm interested to see what they do with it. A big thing I mentioned, I think while we were watching it, was how this game might be completely different like 3 to 6 months from now than what it is when you first start. I was talking to a friend about that, and he said that. I'm like, oh yeah, like when you get in on the ground floor, you're going to have this very sparsely populated world that's kind of empty and desolate, as opposed to someone who comes in 6 months from now. There's going to be ladders and, structures everywhere to make your journey more just simpler, easier to do. So.
Yeah, if you really want to experience the game, I would get there right away. I would not wait on this. If you're even semi-interested, try it immediately so you can experience that. And if you want to try it later on, you can always try it again later on and see what the differences are. But it's going to be very different from day one.
Exactly. So
one reserve I had about the game, though, watching that video, was the menus. Jesus God. Yeah. I'm going to have a tough time getting over those menus. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I'm going to see this game to completion because those menus were already annoying me, and I'm not even playing the game yet.
And the game looks like it puts up a lot of barriers for your traversal, like, requiring that you have boots on, and there's durability behind your boots, and you're probably going to have to
balancing your character.
Exactly. A lot of little things. You have to rest after a while. You can stop at hot springs. Stuff like that I love. I love when a game immerses me and tells me to, like, take a beat, take in the world. But I can see a lot of people not enjoying that in the same way that I do. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, also shown at TGS.
Yeah, you said this was the same video the video of basically what I played at conference.
Exactly, gameplay demonstration of what you played at conference. I got to see it basically, so that was really cool. A lot of stuff they also added to the game that I'm really excited about. New characters that they're adding. There's a new character from Soldier. There's new boss battles with like the Turks.
Do you think you're gonna like the combat and how it's like a hybrid system?
Oh, I love it. I'm really excited about it. I think it looks. I feel like Square Enix has had a lot of trouble figuring out what they want to do with their action combat systems, looking at Final Fantasy 15 and looking at Kingdom Hearts 3. I think they've been struggling. Kingdom Hearts 3 was pretty good. I think it was a little bit simplistic, a little too easy, not a whole lot of thought put into it. Final Fantasy 15, I think, was just, I have a lot of issues with it. It's not worth getting into right now. But I do feel like Final Fantasy 7 Remake is figuring something out that is going to work really well, not just for this game, but probably RPGs for Square Enix going forward. I imagine a lot of people are going to take this battle system and refine it in different ways.
They also mentioned there'll be like a classic mode where you can play it as a turn-based game. Do you think you're going to do that at all?
Probably not, no. But I like that it's there. I think that's
good for like veteran people who don't want to try the new mechanics out. But just to be fair, everyone should try the new mechanics out. It's fucking great.
It looks really cool. But yeah, classic mode's a really cool thing. We'll see if it's implemented in a way that feels great. I doubt it will be, but it's cool that it's there, and I dig that.
Modern Warfare had a beta, and some things happened.
Yeah, this is our next headline. Modern Warfare players apparently have uncovered planned loot box system in Modern Warfare. It was in after. Let me take a look here. So, in bugged after action reports, players have noticed the phrase supply drop mentioned as a possible unlock. For reference, in Game Informer, in a Game Informer interview back in August, Joe Secott, one of the lead designers of Modern Warfare, responded to a question asking if loot boxes would be in this game. And he said, "We can't really comment on MTX or our systems for that right now. All I can say is that we're pushing really hard to create a player-first or player-forward system." I mean, this isn't surprising to anybody, I don't think. They always do this, Activision and Call of Duty. They release their game without loot boxes, and then they wait for the reviews to come out. And then once those are all out and they have good reviews and a good Metacritic score, then the other shoe drops and they drop loot boxes and all these microtransactions into their games.
Just as Nintendo does dumb, unconceivable shit,
yeah,
Activision will be greedy sons of bitches all day long. And that just like they hid them in Crash Bandicoot Tag Team Racing, CTR, they're going to hide their loot boxes again. The game will come out.
Yeah.
It'll be available for like a month. And then 30 days later or 60 days later, they're going to shove the fucking loot boxes in there to avoid any kind of backlash, to avoid any kind of marks against them on their review scores. And it's just, to me, it's the scummiest thing you can do. And if the ESRB doesn't crack down on this adding of loot boxes later, there's going to be, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point, there's going to be big problems with that, with the things that are happening with loot boxes.
Yeah, especially with like legislation coming through, like kind of cracking down on loot boxes more and more. And there's this idea that it might be gambling and all that. Like, it is gambling. Yeah, for sure.
Fuck them. It's gambling. It's dirty. It's scummy. It shouldn't be in any of their games.
I mean, I think it can be in any game as long as that game is rated M. Like, if it's but does Modern Warfare have adult rating still?
Yeah, it's rated M, but there's an adult ratings never get used in America.
Yeah,
the game gets tossed out if it has an adult rating.
I guess I meant mature, like that over 17.
The problem in America, just so everybody understands, is if a game gets rated AO, retailers will refuse to carry it.
Yeah.
So it basically is killing your game right away. And I know a lot of things are going digital now. I totally understand that. But even so, like, digital marketplaces don't really want to have AO games, at least in America. Like, that's a very American thing, is we don't want these AO games. So at least the majority of the country doesn't seem to want them. So that's not something you're going to see.
Yeah.
Like, if they put an AO game on these loot box games, they're going to have to change something. There's no way that AO rating is going to stand, and
for sure.
The game will come out.
For sure. But M rating, I think, for these games, I think would be like Spyro or Crash Team Racing should probably have an M rating if it's going to include loot boxes and these weird gambling.
I totally think that too. Like, I think that these games that have these mechanics in them, these surprise mechanics,
yes,
they should definitely have an M rating. But more importantly, like, just don't do it. Just don't be a scumbag.
They got to make their money.
There's better ways to make a good game. Look at Nintendo's games.
Yeah, but
is there going to be loot boxes in Zelda?
Imagine how much more they can make if they
know better. Boxes.
Now, it's a weird thing. I don't know how to fix the problem. I hope I just wish they would stop doing it. Just be forthright.
And like, I love Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I play Call of Duty every year.
Yeah,
I don't get involved with, like, if the game has loot boxes, I just don't do it. You give them to me for free, whatever, I'll open your loot box and get my prize. But that doesn't tantalize me because I know how you're trying to manipulate me, and it's not going to work on me.
Yeah.
But it will work on some people.
No, absolutely. I think the biggest crux here, though, is just the layers of deceit that come along with it. And it just doesn't make sense to tell your consumers that they're not, like, or just to be withholding of the information of what's going to happen with these microtransactions only to bring it out later. We all know it's coming. So just say it. Just own it. Just own that you're going to have
Don't try to hide it.
Don't try and hide it. Don't try and, give these half-assed answers that don't say exactly what you're doing. Just do what you're doing and say what you're going to do. It's fine. You have loot boxes in your game. Just accept it.
Speaking of scumbags.
Yes.
The ESA proposed rebranding E3 2020 as a fan, media, and influencer festival in a leaked document. Mm-hmm. This was from gamesdaily.biz by Mike Futter. He wrote, this all comes from a leaked pitch deck intended for ESA members. ESA's membership has reportedly already approved an additional 15,000 tickets for the general public, bringing the total consumer ticket price to up to 25,000. As part of its overhaul, the group proposes leaning into influencers and paid celebrity deals with talent representation agencies. So basically what they're trying to do is, they said further on, and I don't know if it was in this article or a different one that I read, but basically they're trying to control the message. So basically they're just trying to manipulate your mind the way that they want you to perceive,
E3,
the games, and all that stuff. They're trying to build the hype train. Yeah,
they're trying to get the influencers, celebrities, e-celebrities in to kind of blow up E3, talk about all the things that are there, and talk about them in a positive light. So what I get from this is the key difference is E3 used to be something very industry focused, where like industry professionals would come in, journalists, press would come in, look at these games, give them objective sort of input and relay that information out to us in an objective way. And now it's moving towards this more consumer based sort of thing.
Right. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. And, there's already PAX. There's already a million cons. Every year there's like another con popping up.
Yeah.
And they're basically trying to become like another PAX, and, they're using it as a marketing tool basically. Mm-hmm. And just so you don't know, if you don't know, the ESA is the Entertainment Software Association. It's basically the lobbying arm for the video game industry to get things, like if they need some kind of government regulation passed, they're the ones who are going to fight for it.
Okay.
They're made up of like heads from like EA and Activision and like the biggest groups. I'm sure Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony probably have people in there too.
Mm-hmm.
But like this. There's a lot of journalists and stuff who've mentioned they're not interested in this. Like this is not what they want.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be anything like old school E3 anymore, which is a lot of people would say E3 is dead. Like and it is. It's changing.
I mean, it's been diminishing in a lot of ways for a while now. Nintendo doesn't show up there anymore in the same way. They don't have any press conferences. Sony left this last year. So I feel like this is them trying to figure out... I can't get too mad at them because it feels like they need to figure out a way to make E3 still big and this event and make their money. So I guess I see what they're doing, but it does sound like it's changing what E3 is. And everything I hear from industry professionals, people who work on games, game devs, press, they don't seem at all happy about where this is going.
Yeah, I don't think I would be either because they're going to have, harder time getting access and stuff. And they're really just focused on, they're talking about bringing in people from the Lakers and celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When E3 was more relevant to me, it was like, what does the media think? Like, what are they seeing? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And it seems to be less of a focus on them now. And it also was a place where people could, network with other people. And it's becoming less and less of old E3 and more of like a PAX. We already have a PAX. We don't need another PAX. So either, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. They make a huge amount of their money from E3, and that's why they're trying to change and adapt, and that's why they're offering more tickets to make even more money, which I get.
Yeah.
Find a different way to make money or do something else. Or just don't do E3 at all, because we don't need another PAX. That's my only opinion.
No, I see where you're coming from, and I see like the frustration and stuff. I'm assuming it's just them. They don't have a better way to corner the market and make E3... an enjoyable experience. So I don't know. I don't have too much to say on this. I'm not crazy familiar with it. I've never been to E3. I don't know how much worse it's been getting. I don't have like that.
I went once.
Have you?
It was the most boring day of my life.
Did you go?
E3 is awful.
Yeah, I don't hear good things. I generally don't hear good things. I mean, I don't really want to go. It doesn't seem like the
lines are gargantuan.
Yeah.
And you're gonna wait. I waited in line for probably an hour for whatever new Assassin's Creed game was out that time. That was the first line that I stood in. Yeah. The line did not move an inch in an hour.
No, I hear there's so many people who go who just don't play the thing they want to play.
Yeah, I just gave up after that. I was like, I can't do this all day. I can't sit here for hours and hours and wait to play a 5-minute demo. Maybe you're out of your mind.
Maybe they should do one or the other. Like be a PAX or fully be for the industry and have that be like the focus. Like I think when they do two separate things at once, it spreads them too thin and like nobody's happy.
Well, when I went, there was no consumer tickets. You had to be in the industry,
and it was still that bad.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and it was awful. And now it's got to be like I can't imagine with letting 25,000 more people in. Like I can't imagine
10,000 more leading up to 25,000. Right. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna get better.
They said they're gonna work on like queuing people and stuff like that. Which they said that there was another article. I don't know if it's the same one, but it was about Qtainment is what they were calling it, to entertain people while they're in line.
Oh yeah, all this stuff is weird.
My god.
Yeah. And it's so gross because it's from this like lobbying group. It's from like the marketing side of things. And
right.
Like, oh, it's great. Like while they're in line, they can't go anywhere else. So we can like entertain them and have them focus on the products we want them to focus on because they're like stuck in there.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever want to go to E3, just have your expectations right. You're not going to play many games.
Yeah.
If you're there for 3 days, maybe you'll play 4 or 5 games because you're going to be spending all your time in line. It's absurd. But you'll see some cool things and like, it was a good place to network. I was networking with people that I didn't even like, and I wasn't even planning on doing that. I just had somebody randomly talk to me while I was smoking a cigarette. Yeah. I smoked at that time. And, he was telling me who we worked for and stuff like that. So we talked for a while. And I think that's what E3 should be about because that's the only thing that matters. Like this other stuff doesn't matter. Like there's already a PAX.
Yeah.
And if they want to show something, all these companies have their own internet-based things like a Nintendo Direct, State of Play. These things already exist.
I think that's the thing I'm like going to miss the most as E3 seems to like change its face and looks different is everybody coming together in the middle of June to just show what they have.
Right.
Like I think that was the coolest part of E3 for me personally, as someone who's never has worked in the industry or saw that side of things. Like for me, E3 is cool because it's where everybody shows their stuff, and that's That's what bums me out about the story is it just seems like the industry is going to be less interested in E3 and more people are just going to pull away. Sean Layden hates E3. Like the way he describes it, he says it doesn't feel good. Like the fact that there's so many consumers there, it just messes up everything. It's hard to like get your message out.
The only thing E3 is relevant for is for those press conferences.
Yeah,
and if they're not going to have them, then who cares?
Exactly. Then they lose their biggest bullet.
Right. Then they might as well just be at PAX or something else. And I'm sorry, just no one should care if you're a PAX. Just go to PAX if you want a PAX.
Yeah, it seems like they allow more people in anyways.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of messed up. All right, moving on. Gears 5. Gears 5 is making some headlines. Breaks records as biggest launch for any Xbox game studios game this generation. It's the biggest launch. 3 million players in the first week. That's more than double Gears of War 4's debut in 2016. Last Xbox game studios title to do that, to get more than 3 million players, was Halo 4 on the 360 in 2012. What do you think about this, Matt? Is this
it's interesting.
Is this because Gears 5 is amazing, or is it because Games Pass? Because this is on Games Pass.
Right.
Like, this is probably the biggest Games Pass game to release so far for Games Pass, is my guess.
Gears 5, I think, has more hype around it than Gears 4 did.
You think so?
I think it's... so I already think it's a better game than Gears 4 was.
Okay.
The attention to detail is there. You know, this is truly one of Xbox One's best games.
Yeah.
And for it to... Microsoft is not going to talk about sales anymore. They don't care. What they want is subscriptions.
Do they not care, or do they realize that that's not where they're winning anymore because they switched the Games Pass?
I think it's both. But they see the future, and the future is in subscriptions.
Okay.
The future is reoccurring revenue.
Okay.
Not what can I make today? It's what can I make over a period of time.
Okay, so we should be happy for Gears 5. Like we should laud this as like a success on their part. For
right. Like some people might see this as, oh, they're not talking about their numbers because their numbers are garbage.
Yeah.
They don't care anymore. If you're paying them a monthly fee through Games Pass, that's more relevant than you buying, maybe two $60 games a year. One of those might not even be a Microsoft game. They're guaranteed money if you're paying them $10 a month for Game Pass. It's
less Xbox needs to make big games. It's more Xbox needs to make Games Pass a full, complete package.
That's exactly why they bought, what's his name studio? Tim Schafer Studio.
They've been buying studios up all over the place.
Right. They don't make... Tim Schafer Studio doesn't make big games. What is their name?
Double Fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Double Fine doesn't make big games, but they make a lot of good games that are smaller consistently. That's what Game Pass is all about. It was a no-brainer for them to try to invest in the Double Fine.
And they bought Ninja Theory 2, the people who did Hellblade recently.
They make basically double-A, high-end double-A experiences, which is cool. They can pump out a game every couple of years.
Obsidian, they bought them too. So, yeah, for sure. That it's more making that case for Games Pass.
Right, and if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. But look at media across the board. Music, subscriptions. Yeah. No one even talks about buying CDs anymore. Maybe you go back and buy vinyls for your enthusiast for collecting vinyl and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you have like a curly mustache, maybe.
Yeah, maybe people like that. You look at movies and TV; that's all being streamed now. Games are going the same way, whether you want them to or not. I don't want them to go that way, but that's what's going to happen. And Microsoft already sees the future. The writing is on the wall; it's been on the wall.
Yeah.
And the streaming is going to be what gets there. And Game Pass does both. You can download or stream. It's the best of both worlds, which is why Stadia is probably going to fall flat on its face.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If Stadia had an option to download and stream, it would be completely different. But because they're streaming only, they're going to have a real uphill battle to fight.
Yeah, I don't think hardware is going away, but subscription services are coming in.
For
sure. And Games Pass, I think, is the perfect looking version of what a game subscription should be, because you have the ability to download, and that's huge.
Yeah, and I think this is great for Gears. Their numbers are up over Gears of War 4. Like, they have more players and everything. Like, that's good for the community. It's good for Gears. They can, they have a reason to sustain the game longer. Doesn't matter about sales. If people are subscribing to Game Pass and playing their game, then they can go to Microsoft and be like, hey, this is how many players we have recurring weekly or monthly. We need to invest more into this game.
Yeah, that's right. You get to look at it in a different view. That's a good point, actually. Because you don't have to look at sales. You look at the numbers of the people playing it. Yeah. And yeah, that's a good point. And it's probably a healthier way to build a game.
Between now and the next Gears, they can keep making updates for that if the players stay.
If people are there, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It might open up other developers more freedom to make whatever they want to make because they're less focused on sales and more focused on like getting players into the door. Huh. Yeah, if you have Games Pass, you'll just pick up anything and try it out.
If you have Games Pass and you're not playing Gears, I don't know what you're doing with your life.
Well, anything. If you're not playing Sea of Thieves, try it out. You're subscribed. Why not?
Yeah, Game Pass is a great deal. You should, I recommend everybody try it out.
Definitely. All right, Matt, what do we got next here?
Probably the most retro thing I've ever heard of. This is awesome.
This whole thing. I didn't even know what the hell this thing was. I still don't.
It's really cool, really nerdy.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm gonna buy just because I own some of their products already, and there's a reason I own them. So Analog is making something called DAC. It's digital to analog converter. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Basically, what it means is that you can take your Mega SG, for example. That's their newest console. It's basically a Sega that uses FPGA technology. So you can pop in a cartridge and it plays it just like a Sega Genesis would.
Yes.
It's not emulation, but it displays it in 1080p.
Yeah.
It runs the game better than a Genesis could.
It's awesome.
And it reads it the same way. But what this is doing, those use HDMI cables. Those are using a digital signal. If you really wanted to have the authentic experience, using an analog or other, you could use a PS4. This downgrades your signal essentially to an analog signal, so you can use it on a CRT.
Why?
So if you wanted to, you can play PS4 on a CRT.
That's horrible. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to do that with their PS4, but I think for something like the Mega SG that takes these old games and up-res them to 1080p, I guess you might want to convert them back to your CRT. But at the same time,
it's probably the best way to play a CRT game.
Yeah, maybe.
Or a game on a CRT. It's still going to be better than a Genesis would. Yeah. But at the same time, the people who are going for that authentic experience probably want to have a original Genesis.
Exactly. Why bother with a SG? Because then you're just resing something to down-res it basically to a CRT TV. I'm
actually in one of Analog's communities on Facebook. Somebody sent me an invite to it, so I went and checked it out.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few people that are excited about it. So there is a niche market for this. Just understand that the market is very niche.
It's got to be. Yeah.
I have no interest because I would want to see it as best as possible. I don't want to go back, to... that's the whole point of me getting a Mega SG, was to see my Genesis games be the best they can be, not to hook them up to an older TV, which I don't mind. I have an original Genesis. I can do that. But why would I do that if I can see it better? So, I mean, it's not for me, but it's definitely for some people.
It seems bizarre. It seems like the most backwards way to play a game on your CRT TV.
But that's so retro, though. Who's going to do that?
It's so retro, yeah. I'm sure, again, we're talking about the curly mustached men, again, with their vinyls and their CRT, DAC converters.
Diggity.
All right. Next up, we got Rockstar Games releasing its own PC launcher. There's not much to say about this. It's another PC launcher from another developer who doesn't have a big enough catalog to be doing this.
There may be a reason, though.
I mean...
What is the reason?
The reason might be that they're angling to release Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC. But they could do that anyways. They could be on Steam. They don't need their own launcher to do. I believe that might be a case.
I think, now they would get 100% of the profit.
That's true.
Instead of a cut.
That's true. And a lot of people would probably want to play that game on PC because it is one of the most technically beautiful games ever. And the fact that you can only play it on consoles is kind of funny. So I get what you're saying. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think not only are they doing this on purpose, there's a reason for it, but Red Dead Redemption 2 will come to PC. That's my theory.
Regardless.
I mean, it's going to be exclusive to their platform. Okay. That's going to get people to download their launcher.
Oh, God.
That's going to get people to download their launcher. You want to play Red Dead? You can, exclusively on the Rockstar launcher.
Developers have been doing this, and gamers hate it so much, and I hate it so much. I hate that I have
Everyone's doing it. Everyone's making their own stream. In every venue, again, look at TV.
Yeah.
NBC just announced today they're making the Peacock app or whatever.
There's so many. HBO's working to do.
Everybody has their own
got
shit.
Disney Plus, yeah, it's all over the place. Everyone wants their own streaming or the platform to get you to buy and subscribe to and all that.
For all you people who wanted cable to dissipate, you're all going to be fucked.
Because it's back in a different form.
If you haven't read the writing on the wall, instead of you paying one company a bunch of fucking money, you're going to pay 40 companies a little bit of money, which is going to equal probably as much or more than your cable bill. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that, cable was good or anything like that. I'm not trying to argue that. I'm just trying to say you should have been smarter to realize that all these people were going to try to fuck you in the end. And one conglomerate like Netflix was not going to continue to exist. Yeah. It was not going to happen when there's money to be made.
Exactly. No,
same thing with games.
You're 100% right, and it's irritating. It's just so irritating to see. It comes off as like cocksure and just really cocky that they think like, hey, we have one game and that's enough to make a launcher. And I get why they're doing it, but I hate it. I hate having to download a launcher because I want to play one game. I want to play Wolfenstein Youngblood. I have to download Bethesda's horrible, crappy launcher just so I can play that game. Fuck that. I don't want to do it.
Let me help you, Richard.
Help me.
There's a thing called a PS4 and an Xbox One.
Yeah, and that's why
you don't need to download these launchers.
That's why I primarily play on console. Honestly, like that's why I do it. If it's not a PC exclusive, I really very rarely. The only reason I played Youngblood on PC was because I got a code for it. So I was like, okay.
I'll always give PC shit. It'll never be my platform of choice. But if I had a good enough PC to run it, the only thing I would have on my PC would be GOG, which is good old games. Mm-hmm. If nobody's checked it out before, you totally should. But they take old games, remove kind of like DRM stuff from them. They make them playable on modern day computers where games might not be playable at all.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they're pretty, the games don't cost a lot of money or anything like that.
I might have to look into this.
It's from CD Projekt Red. Oh. It's a division of CD Projekt Red.
The best ever. They take care of us.
So I don't have a PC that's good enough to play games, but if I did that, my PC could probably play those old games.
Yeah, Mac, it can't do anything.
But, yeah. Right, I encourage everybody to go check out GOG.
Yeah. Thank you. What do we got next?
Bandai Namco, a little bit of retro news.
This is cool. This is exciting.
They trademark a series of games with the ending of Encore, Mr. Driller, Klonoa, and Splatterhouse, as well as a couple other Japanese games, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. Richard, you can try to pronounce them.
When we get to them, I'll try my best.
Okay. So basically, they re-released Katamari Damacy as Reroll in America. Mm. In Japan, it was titled Encore. This I got from Gamatsu. Sal Romano wrote up this article. Encore is the subtitle of Bandai Namco. Has given to two recent remasters, Katamari Damacy Remaster, Katamari Damacy Reroll, which launched for the Switch and PC in December of 2018. Is titled Katamari Damacy in Japan.
Encore in Japan. Hmm? Encore in Japan.
Yes, Encore in Japan. And the recently announced, Kotoba no Puzzle Moji Piton Encore.
We should not have had you read this. This is a horrible idea. Basically, let me bail you out. Basically, what we're seeing Bandai do is they're releasing Encore versions, or they trademarked Encore versions of just old games, old retro games, some really cool stuff. Encore is what they called Katamari Damacy Reroll back in the
big thing is fucking Splatterhouse is back.
Splatterhouse. So let's go through the games that we might be getting as HD remasters or HD versions for probably consoles. The first being Genpei Tumoden Encore. We looked at this. I've never heard of this game before today.
It looked amazing.
It is the most bizarre, awesome looking thing I've seen. It's a 2D, it's mostly a 2D side scroller, but it's like 8-bit, but it looks amazing.
But then it has that over the top view, which looks like an old Zelda game.
It's got like 3 different like play styles or view.
It's really strange.
It's so weird. So like generally it has like a normal standard 2D side scroller or 8-bit like look where you're just walking across a landscape or whatever. But in some levels, you're like, the camera's way closer to you. You're doing more combat-based stuff with enemies as they come at you. And then there's another top-down mode. It's like a horror game. It's got like skeletons in there. It's got ghouls, all sorts of weird stuff. It's a lot of dark imagery. There's a weird centipede monster that I saw. I've never heard of this, but I'm super excited to see this come over. Like, this one's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks rad, but there is one issue.
Yes.
This was just found out through trademarks.
Yeah.
We don't know if this is coming to North America, to Europe, to Japan. We have no idea. Obviously, by the names, Japan's probably a pretty safe bet that they're going to get these games.
They're using Encore again, so yeah, definitely.
Well, we don't know where else they're coming out.
Yeah. As of right now, we're just speculating wildly that they're going to come out here. I hope they do.
Right.
What else do we have? We have Klonoa Encore, original
Cult
Klonoa.
Classic.
Cult Classic for sure. It's one of these like 2.5D 2D 2.5D scrollers, platformers. Really cool looking. The camera changes as you're like progressing through. Reminds me of Toomba. I think Toomba had a very similar look to it. Originally out for PlayStation, I think. So that one's pretty cool. Mr. Driller Encore. I've never played Mr. Driller. I'm very familiar with like the imagery of Mr. Driller. Think of
very popular puzzle game.
It looks good. It looks pretty interesting. I'm moderately into puzzle games, and this one looked pretty interesting. But think of that dude. I don't know if I should describe him, but he's that dude with like the pink space helmet, and he drills.
Sure.
He drills through candy. It's pretty cool. I'm excited. I'm not going to play that one.
It's like a dentist getting rid of the candy.
Yeah, sure. Oh, maybe that's what it's about.
Maybe. Mr. Driller, see?
Mr. Driller drilling into
a
little Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, that's wrong. Little Shop of Horrors. Anyway, Splatterhouse Encore. I didn't know this was Bandai. Or Namco, rather.
No, I didn't know that either. I wasn't aware of that.
Splatterhouse, you're a pretty big fan. Tell me about Splatterhouse, Matt.
Splatterhouse was cool. I played it on Genesis for a little while. I think I rented it. I didn't never own the game, so I don't know. Yeah, I played a vast amount, but I think I rented it back in the day. It was badass.
Yeah, I played it at a friend's back when I was younger. Basically, you play as Jason. It looks like
he looks like Jason. He's wearing like a ski mask, and I think he has like a chainsaw,
hockey mask.
What did I say? Ski oh mask, yeah, you're right. Hockey mask.
But he's got like a chainsaw or something. It's a beat 'em, not a beat 'em up. It's a 2D. Is it 2D? I think you can like go up and down on the planes too.
I don't remember.
I don't remember precisely, but it's like a side scroller. It's horror based. You're in like a bunch of creepy looking houses that look like they're out of like a 90s slasher pick. There's weird aliens that come at you. It's a very creepy game.
Very gory.
Very gory.
For its time.
Yeah, for sure. For the Genesis, like there was a lot of blood in that game. So that'd be really cool. Excited for that. And Wagyon Land Encore. What's Wagyon Land Encore?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you know?
Some Japanese shit.
I looked into it. It looks terrible.
Might be cool.
It looks. No? I looked into it. I watched some gameplay videos. It looks weird.
Well, there you go.
Another side scroller, but pretty awesome.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes out.
I hope it does. I really do. I really want to play Genpei Tumiden.
I just want to check out Splatterhouse again.
You want to relive those memories?
I might play Genpei if it comes out.
Dude, it looks. Please look it up. Try and find that online and see what that game looks like. Because it's bizarre and it's fascinating, and I'm excited for it. All right, that covers headlines, Matt.
Yeah, so now we're gonna get into rediscovering retros.
Rediscovering retro, where we play an old game off camera or off mic. Think about it, examine it, and then come back and talk about it. Matt,
I wouldn't say examine. I'd say observe casually.
Yeah, we didn't get too deep. We played. This week was Disney's Aladdin for the Sega Genesis. Probably inspired because they were re-releasing it pretty soon.
Where did we stop at? We stopped at the caves. Was it the caves? Did we get past the caves?
We definitely stopped in the caves because that's where I lost my fucking mind playing that game. But Disney's Aladdin, it was. What are your impressions on this game?
I think it's one of the best games on the Genesis.
What?
I would say it's probably the top 10 or 15 games on the Genesis.
I think it's one of the prettiest games on the Genesis.
Oh, without a doubt.
I think the animation
the animation
amazing.
I don't there might not be a better animated game on the
I think Disney was lighting a fire under whoever the hell made that. Virgin. Yeah, I think they were like, "Hey, these better look good." I'm sure there was a lot of back and forth between the two in terms of like what the quality should be like for the art style and everything. It looks really great. The sprite work is awesome. That game plays like utter trash, man. I hated it.
There's some, it doesn't play as smoothly as I remember it, but there's a couple hiccups here and there, but overall I would say if you remember back to that time, that thing was probably buttery smooth compared to most games that you played during that period of time.
No, because we played a Rocket Knight a few weeks back on your Mega SG.
Rocket Knight was nice,
and that game I didn't have any. Once I started getting into it, I had no issues with like the controls. Like everything started to make sense.
It's almost like the jumping in Aladdin gets a little like sticky.
Yeah,
like it doesn't go the way you want it to sometimes.
Exactly. And like I'll do a thing where I try and throw an apple while I'm jumping in the air, but I hit back.
You just have no rhythm.
No, bullshit.
Well, that's true.
There's not enough window space for the input commands.
I had no problems throwing apples at enemies, just so everybody knows. Yeah, no problems with that.
That is true. You had a lot easier time with that fucking boss. That just wrecked my life. Maybe I'm just bad at games. Maybe that's the problem.
You're getting older.
It happens. Oh, jeez. All right. That's rediscovering retro. It's quick. It's sweet. Anything else you want to say on Aladdin?
No, I think we have a good segue here because the next question, we have our question segment now.
Oh, yeah.
This question comes from J. Hunter Pearson.
Yeah, we're in questions. I got a comment saying we need to like define the segments.
All right.
Is this adequate? Did I do a good enough job?
Just start the whole podcast.
All right, we got to start from the top. Questions. We're in questions now. I should have music cues or something. Anyways, who's this from?
J. Hunter Pearson via Twitter.
Yes.
He wrote, when it comes to gaming, where does the biggest generational gap exist? Am I reading this right?
Yeah. When it comes to gaming, where does the biggest generational gap exist? What do different generations of people butt heads on the most? So yeah, Hunter, I think, is asking us, like, where...
That's a good question.
It's fascinating. Like, where's that biggest gap, I guess, in terms of, like, what we like as video games? Like, what generation kind of is at odds with another generation within video games? Who has the most in common?
Look, you need to define generations, because when some people talk about generations, people always forget about Atari. People always start with Nintendo, with the NES. Yeah. And I would say that the biggest gap is between Atari and Nintendo.
Oh, you know what? You might be absolutely right. I think there's a lot of people who exist on this planet who played the Atari and never played anything else. Like,
yeah, they grew up, they never played Nintendo, they skipped it. The Atari was their soft spot. And then there's an even bigger generation that I think grew up with the NES that have no affinity whatsoever for the Atari. And when they play it, they think the Atari is complete trash.
Yeah.
Which neither is true. They both have their advantages and disadvantages.
I mean, there's some amazing stuff on Atari. That's Pac-Man, right? Am I fucking this up?
The Atari version of Pac-Man was trash.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
It was garbage.
Hunter also alluded, it's not here, we didn't write it down, but alluded to maybe what our generational differences would be as gamers.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be different for sure. Would you agree that Atari was between Atari and Nintendo, it's the biggest generational gap where people just can't comprehend each other?
Yeah, and they're right next to each other, technically, right? Like, and they just have no awareness of like what each other's games are for the most part. I think some Nintendo fan or NES of that NES generation has gone back to the Atari, tried some of those older games because of posterity's sake, but for the most part, yeah, I think they're pretty separate.
There's also some discrepancies between the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo people, like where the kids that grew up with Super Nintendo can't even, comprehend going back to the Nintendo, which is a smaller segment. I mean, a lot of them can get over that, but there's still a few that can't. In regards to you and I, though, we don't have a huge age difference. We're only 5 years apart. Okay. So it's not like, 7 years apart.
I think it's 7. How old are you?
I don't know math, so...
What's your age? Do you want to say it? Are you okay?
72.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's why you love Atari. I think it's 7 years. No, I think maybe the biggest thing... No, N64 was like your biggest console, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
I think that... I'd have to think about this more like in a more thought out way, but just coming off the top of the head, I think the Nintendo 64 was my favorite console.
Okay, your favorite console, for sure. And mine would be PS2.
Which some people would say is nuts for 64. PS2 is totally acceptable. People think I'm crazy.
I think you're so wrong. I think it's a horrible console, if anything.
You just didn't understand.
I understand.
Wait, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna defend my point of view for a second.
By all means.
How old were you when Nintendo 64 came out?
What year did the 64 come out?
95. 96.
I was either 4 or 5 years old, and I did not play the N64.
You were 4 or 5 years old. This is why. This is the problem.
Is it?
Yes, I'll explain to you why.
No, because
my internet works.
I played PlayStation 1 games, really enjoyed those. I had some great experiences on the original PlayStation. Can't say the same for games that I've gone back and played on the N64. What are you looking at, Matt?
When did the N64 release? I just want to know the date.
Give me the date.
1996.
1996. I was 5 years old.
Came out in November 1996.
5 years
September in Japan.
Yeah.
No, September.
Nonetheless,
Anyways, 1996 was the date. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Jesus Christ, when the fuck? Yeah, September 1996 is when it came out in North America. There you go. September 96.
All right,
so how old were you?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is that?
Here's my point.
Okay.
You were 5 years old. Uh-huh. You're barely comprehending the world at that point. Would you agree with that?
That's true, 100%.
Okay. I
barely comprehend it now.
I was like either, a teenager. I was probably around the teenage years. Like I was probably about 14 years old, let's say.
Okay.
This was the first time I was so close to walking away from video games.
Okay.
I didn't have, a 64 pre-ordered or anything like that. I played some games when I was younger. I was starting to get out of it.
Yeah.
I walked into some ridiculous store that you would never go to. It's like I walked into like a Sears or like a Caldor or some fucking store that doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. I think Sears might still be around. I think there's Sears.
Sears is there for sure.
But I walked into the store. They had Mario 64 there, and that was it. I was like, oh my God. Because I'd never seen a 3D game before like that.
Yeah.
It blew my mind.
I had that experience with the PlayStation is what I'm saying.
You did, and that's why you have more of affinity towards that. And that's why I have more of affinity towards Nintendo 64.
Yeah, so you think it's less of a generational thing and more that has to do with what we played first for 3D games.
I preferred platformers, and no one can deny that Nintendo 64 had better 3D platformers than the PlayStation.
I think that's probably
true.
Yeah.
Mario 64, there was no better game between either system than Mario 64 as far as a 3D platformer goes.
Oh, okay, cool.
As far as a 3D platformer goes.
That genre for sure. I agree with that.
And that was all I needed. That game blew my mind. And then they made Zelda, Mother of God. And then they made GoldenEye. These elements were who I was during that period of time. I can't even explain to you how much time I spent playing Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I didn't like Majora's Mask. I know that people are all about Majora's Mask now, but wasn't that great? Fuck the time segments.
I haven't played Majora's Mask, so I can't speak on that. I feel like I want to disagree, though.
It's the time thing that drove me fucking nuts.
For sure, yeah.
And then GoldenEye. Jesus Christ, that's all I need.
So I think generationally, the difference between us is you kind of had your video game awakening with the N64, whereas I did have, I played the PlayStation originally when it came out on my cousins or whatever, but I didn't have my spiritual awakening with video games until the next generation.
See, and that makes sense because you were older.
Yeah,
you could comprehend things better.
I can appreciate art and music and all the things that were happening within these games when I was older, when the PS2 had come out, and that's really when I started to enjoy it as an art form and all that. So, I mean, I think that covers our differences generationally, and we kind of mentioned like the biggest one as well.
What made you love that generation of games? There had to be games that defined that. So what defined it for you?
The PS2 itself. Yeah. So actually, Final Fantasy VII I played for the first time once I got my PS2. I picked up Final Fantasy VII way late. It was my first Final Fantasy that I played through to completion. So that one was huge. Metal Gear Solid 2, that was my first Metal Gear. I didn't know you could do a story like that. I didn't know you could have that level of character detail within a game. And then eventually Shadow of the Colossus, I think, whenever that came out. I think it was in 2006 or something. This
is where you'll see differences between Richard and I.
Yeah.
I didn't care about any of those games. I still don't for the most part. I'm going to try the new Final Fantasy VII Remake. Shadow of the Colossus, again, my problem goes back to controls with these fucking games. The original Shadow of the Colossus was trash. I own it. I tried to play it. I couldn't believe how awful the controls were in that game. And then they made a remake.
Oh yeah, you used modern controls on the remake.
I did.
I forgot about that.
And I was so much more accepting. The game is fantastic.
Okay.
But you can't fuck up the controls with me. I can't deal with that shit. And I couldn't even climb the first Colossus on PS2. I just remember wanting to break the controller into two pieces. So controls matter a lot to me.
For sure.
Same thing with Metal Gear. It's going back to the same story.
Yeah.
You can't fuck up the controls with me.
I think you'll be able to get into Death Stranding because of that.
We'll see. I already don't like their menus.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I think we might have spent too long. Oh, one other thing I want to talk about with generations, going back to Hunter's question. I think there is a new generation of gamers that are kind of coming into their own and being... I think there's a hard separation between gamers who are currently coming up, playing Fortnite, playing...
You mean the disaster that's about to ensue?
Playing these games as a service titles like Fortnite, PUBG, Destiny, all these like newer games.
No, fuck those games as a service. Yeah. That's not even the problem. In my, I see it as a problem.
Yeah.
These ones that are growing up playing Fortnite and Minecraft,
I mean,
they're going to be great designers of things. But
they're gonna be way more creative than me.
I think they'll go on to be excellent architects and things like that.
Okay.
But as far as like their taste in games, I have nothing in common with them.
They're gonna be way smarter than me, but their taste is gonna be absolutely shit.
Not saying they're gonna be smarter than me. I'm just saying they're gonna know how to build shit.
To build things.
And again, I don't give a fuck. I'm not there to build a goddamn game. I want to play your goddamn game. And that's a generational difference.
So as you can see, I think that illustrates my point. Definitely a generational difference between us and this new group of gamers coming up. I think they just have a different expectation of what a game should be. Especially like growing up on mobile games too. Like
Jesus Christ, that goddamn they're going to expect everything to be free. Yeah, and have microtransactions everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Disgusting.
So I'm wondering where this group of kids will go, but I do see a big difference in terms. Yeah, you're not a fan. I can see that, but I can see a difference between us, me, Matt, people our age, and this new generation coming up. All right, one more question. This is a short one. This is from Beardless2 at Twitter. I know this person personally.
I'm going to let you answer this question because I already said my piece on what he's going to... Well, I talked about this last week. So
yeah, absolutely. What's a 5-word sentence you would say to convince someone they should stick with Final Fantasy VII post Midgar? Midgar being the city in the very beginning of the game that you spend about 10 hours in. Very iconic imagery. The entirety of Final Fantasy VII Remake is focused on the Midgar storyline. That's where the whole part 1 is going to take place. A lot of people don't like the game post Midgar or don't think it's as compelling as it was before. I personally do, but he's asking for a 5-word sentence. Mm-hmm. So I should stop talking and say my 5-word sentence, right?
Go for it.
Cosmological horrors and Gaia hypothesis.
Jesus Christ.
That's it. There you go.
This is like as bad as Richard is on Twitter. If you guys don't follow us, you should, just to see the ridiculousness that spews out of his mouth. I don't even know half the shit that he's talking about on there.
I just tweeted an 11-tweet thread about sexualization in Metal Gear Solid. Check it out.
My God.
Turns out Kojima's pretty equal when it comes to sexualizing males and females. It's pretty impressive. I might get canceled for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're fired.
All right, that wraps up the podcast just about. We do have one last order of business, and that is the Dual Action Hyper Turbo HD Challenge, Matt.
Yep.
What happened last week?
You won like a bitch?
What? That's in the notes, by the way. Did you?
It is. That? Oh, yeah, it's in the notes.
You
clearly won like a bitch.
No.
And it even says Richard cheats 1 time for 1 point.
When did you put that in there?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where it came up at.
Whatever.
So how did you win, Richard? Why don't you tell the people how you won?
We played
supposedly
Mortal Kombat 3 for the record.
One of the worst. I don't know why Richard picked number 3. It clearly should have been 2.
I don't know why I picked it either. I thought Mortal Kombat 3 was the good one. I was assured of this.
No.
So much so that I thought Raiden was in the game.
No.
And beforehand, I actually looked up the move set of Raiden to...
So he tried to cheat before he cheated.
I did try and cheat. I didn't cheat in the end. I tried to look up the move where he flies forward at you, and I was just going to spam that the whole time. Didn't work. He's not in Mortal Kombat 3. I didn't know that. I made a mistake. Very foolish on my part.
He might be unlockable somehow. I don't even know. It's been so long since I played the game.
That said, I you know what? It didn't faze me one bit. I was like,
so tell the people how you won. Supposedly won.
I did hard kicks.
He did a jumping high kick over and over again. And I was so stupid that I kept trying to learn new moves. I was Sub-Zero. I kept trying to remember how to play the game because I'm dumb. And tried to go back to being like fucking 8.
So your stupidity equals me cheating at this game?
My stupidity equals I should have just blocked you and punched you every single time, but I was too worried about trying to remember how to play the game.
And I realized this and I capitalized it. That's being a strategist. That's what I did. I used strategy to overcome the obstacle before me, and I tore you to shreds. And I won best 2 out of 3.
With a bunch of high kicks.
Jumping
high kicks.
I actually, I have a haiku that I wrote.
Jesus Christ.
And I wanted to share it with you about my victory over you.
No, we don't need to hear this.
We do need to hear this. It's very important. I wrote it last night.
It's terrible.
Let me bring it up here. It's great. Let me bring it up.
I'm getting a fucking beer.
Let's see. Wait, no. You have to stay here. All right, Matt's getting a beer, so I'm going to wait until he's back on the headphones so he can hear it. Where the hell did I put it, Matt? Where's my haiku?
In the trash where it belongs.
Can I not find my haiku in here? No! Oh no, I lost my haiku.
Let the record know that the document states that Richard won like a bitch.
I think I remember
and he cheats. So everybody knows.
I think I remember the haiku. Are you ready, Matt?
Sure.
Raiden. Oh wait, hold on. No, let me start it over.
What a compelling podcast this is.
Okay, hold on. I got it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. MK3 Raiden is not a thing that exists. My Liu Kang is strong.
That's it?
That's my haiku.
Oh my God.
575.
Your Liu Kang's a bitch.
That sums it up.
You's a bitch.
Next week for the Dual Action Hyper Turbo HD Challenge. What are we playing, Matt?
NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
I have
Sega Genesis.
zero familiarity with this game.
I do have
very
familiarity,
concerned.
so I do have a leg up on this one. I'll be honest.
We'll see.
And not cheat, but be honest that I have played the game when I was a child for quite a bit. And I played it recently. One thing and the computer kicked my ass, so that's good news for you.
I am going to look up pro strats online and try to figure out how to defeat you.
Richard is clearly cheating.
That's not cheating. Also, this guy wanted a practice round. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about it next week. We'll see you here, not next week, 2 weeks from now.
He's on fire!
All right.